Hi, I want to talk about taxes. A subject that many companies they don't like hearing these words, taxes. But when Muslim or Middle Easterns or people who have still some sense of what business itself is, because they have seen the evolution of business from a small business to larger corporations, they immediately kind of relate this subject of taxes to charity, which is kind of distant topic in the mind of many Westerners. That taxes and charities, they're cousins. While they were writing recommendations by the Iranian government to Khomeini, the Iranian leader, and he was wondering why their economy is kind of has sharp spikes and drops, and why the value of dollar in the market it keeps going up and down drastically, or why their economy has issues, problems. And then the people who are making recommendations to him, they were saying that let's not make our economy tak mahsuli, which means like one product, oil, or let's not do things that concentrate the wealth and economic activity in the hands of a certain class, which are usually after the Shah's fall were still in the hands of many really wealthy relatives, or and the second class would be the bazaris. So let's distribute the economic advantages to many different groups. So our economy will not be focused, and then if something happens to those groups or to the oil industry, they will be all stuck. So, but then they went on and say that many companies in Iran and many wealthy didn't pay taxes, didn't, which is not fair. But over there, many industries, or I would say half the industries, are totally owned by the government, like extraction for minerals, or silver, or heavy metals, or oil, or gas. It's mostly Iranian government-owned entities. So the government makes the income from all these industries. So really, they didn't pay attention. Hey, we should be collecting taxes. But in our religion, and also in Shia laws, this is where our civilization has come along all these thousands of years. Even though collecting taxes is not done usually forcefully by laws, well, the kings used to collect taxes. You had to pay it because he knew the wealthy landlords and wealthy merchants, and he would just send his guys, pay up your taxes. This is the way they used to do it at the time of Qajar dynasty. My ancestors is very interesting. They would send this big dish, like a big round, deep dish. But you can still carry it in one hand or two hands. It wasn't overwhelmingly big, but then suddenly government agents would show up like at a certain time of the year by the house of the courtiers and wealthy merchants, and this dish would have inside آش شله قلمکار. It was like a very fancy kind of soup. I know. I want to tell you how this relates to Amazon and the troubles that they have. But they would bring this very fancy soup. It's costly to make this soup, and the Shah's kitchen would make this soup, and would bring it with fanfare, with agents, government agents would come in with with this big dish, and then it was very well understood that when the merchant or the big landlord would accept this hashish or qalamkar, it would be very rude not to accept. Then he would have to take the dish inside and empty the soup, and then they would be obligated to fill it out with ashrafi, which were nice gold coins, heavy and big gold coins, all the way to the top, even a little bit over the top of gold coins. And the gold coins and the dish would be the taxes that they had to pay every year. And I don't know if the size of the dish was different for a different kind of courtiers or merchants, but they had to pay the taxes. And then the other form that the taxes would come in for a lot of other people would be that people who were wealthy or over the average wages, they would have to pay khums and zakat. Khums meant the fifth, which means the fifth or 20% of your after expenses and after whatever that you had to do to run the business of your net profit. That's what khums means, the fifth. You had to pay by religious law. You're a Muslim, you are obligated to, on your own, without anybody prodding you or anybody sending you ashish or qalamkar. You are to pay those monies to whoever, family, or could be anybody, strangers, and this money, which is a significant, large amount of money, usually had a huge impact on society. And in fact, many older Muslim societies were very well off, even the poor people. The poverty was not, you couldn't see poverty in society as much as you would see it in India, which is also very wealthy but doesn't practice these things, and or in like other places, Africa. But then besides homes, which is 20%, then many more wealthy people, they were required to pay zakat. Zakat means purities, which means that you fulfill this part of it, and then you are going to you're going to take care of the rest, which is the you 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 were more pious. You gave more. So 25% was a very nice tax, very nice cut of the net income of society, or most of the economically viable society. And then then many very wealthy people not ordinary people. They would make their inheritance if they didn't have children or they didn't have anybody that would inherit this all this money to سازمان اوقاف or وقف. وقف means the word means like something wealth is like sitting there is dormant. وقفه also means stopping, like you're walking but you just stop. And but what the religious organizations and some governments in Iran, they could control the waqf, when the money stopped being part of the economy, it was just dormant. It became property and became wealth, or it was underground treasures, and they knew about it or they dug it out. This money had it was dead money. It was money that came from our ancestors, and there was no particular owner, but the government or some religious leaders they could manage the money. Like you know, we have funds here. They manage the money, and usually they would use the money to make orphanages or you know. It was considered a real sin to do anything with this money or this wealth that that wasn't meant for charity. It was not meant for anything else, and if you did it, then that would be sin. So, but these taxes, these amounts of taxes, 25%, or well, the Americans they had it at 35% corporate tax was a bit high, but 25% or even 28% where the Democrats want to go, that's not a lot of money, a lot of fraction of the net income of a corporation. It's not. They can live with it. In fact, uh, it was suggested by many people. I heard this in the Kaiser report that they should put a tax on transactions in the Wall Street or transactions like derivative. You buy a derivative or you buy a stock or like to put a 6% transaction fee. Well, I pay like 9% when I want to go buy, Oh, hold on one second. I'm getting cotton mouth. Let me get this water. When I want to go buy a bottle of Coca-Cola, I pay like 8%, 8 and some percent tax. But why should a corporation like Amazon or Walmart or Wall Street speculators, they're just shitting on their money or playing or gambling with it? Why shouldn't they pay taxes? Why shouldn't they pay like 6% or even 10% of the transaction amount as the tax? In fact, Max Kaiser was saying that this would be a non-event. It was just many banks or many companies that sell stocks or equities. They would just add this 6%. The customer just pays it, and it would be irrelevant to if the stock appreciated or because they make so much more money from their stupid gambling and speculations. So this would just come along. It's like you have a 12-cylinder sports car, and you just attach a buggy in the back, so it has to pull this buggy too, because this buggy is where everybody else is sitting. Everybody else has to rely on some kind of government help, or be able to get loans, be able to pay student fees, or so the concept that the corporations, the companies, the wealthy, the well-to-do, even average people, they should even legally and morally, you're obligated in many forms to pay the taxes at a reasonable amount, like 25 or 28%, or even for large corporation 35%. This is not outrageous thing. This you should do it, even if somebody is not proud of you. You must do it, because we are not monkeys. We don't live in the jungle. We don't each go and hunt food from other monkeys or other animals and consume it. We are dependent. We are a social animal. Economically, we are related to each other, and we cannot live when all the profits and all the resources have migrated someplace else. Society is going to have problems. In fact, this is the good recommendation for Khamenei, Iranian leader, or for anybody, any society. You are to pay taxes, and what Trump did by reducing the taxes of well-to-do, well, that's a form of crime. These guys are very fat, and they should pay taxes. I heard that Amazon didn't pay any taxes. In fact, they got a rebate last year. And many Wall Street companies, they don't pay taxes. Many wealthy investors, they just roll the money over. Uh, I don't think the rest of the society should care if if there is this their form of capitalism is the most beautiful or is not. When it comes down to pay for many services, many people who are dependent, you really don't give a shit what the fund managers or if the world has been good to them or not. This it would be a last consideration, but well, I think the taxes in the United States are going to go up, and Iran does charge some taxes for the rich people, but they have so much income. Iranian government has so much income that they give money away more so than well there is also an ideology that has evolved with the real wealthy. I think they call it new liberalism, or that all the good things in world comes from these rich people, and what they do is trickle down, give a little handouts to their buddies or relatives. All the good things, the technological developments and the Western civilization, this bullshit theology of fascists and friends is not good for society. It's not good for anybody. Well, I was looking at some videos from Russian sources, and in Russia, after communism, they still have very large companies, and they do have to pay taxes. For example, Gazprom is one of the major companies. It's a very nice stock. It pays dividend, and they also pay 25% of their taxes to the government. The Russian government doesn't have financial problems and also doesn't have a lot of debt. I wonder how did that happen? Well, it seems that Amazon is getting into trouble. Is that their employees are getting together and making the first union in the United States, and hopefully it will become unionized, and they will be forced to abandon all these practices. They are very mean with the humans that work in the warehouses, as if the humans are a kind of robot that you can you know. Humans are very different than robots. We don't we cannot work continuously, even though somebody might hire me for $50 an hour. Uh, well, that's great. I wouldn't be able to like a robot do a lot of stuff to the maximum level that my body can tolerate, which is even when I was younger, you have to take breaks. Humans get tired. Usually, physical work, most people they can do continuous physical work, 2, 3 hours, like stacking boxes. I used to do that when I was in warehouse work, or uh, dig ditches or whatever construction. Well, I worked construction. It, it, I thought that it was very hard work. In fact, I did like odd jobs, construction. I didn't notice it the first day, or the first day I didn't notice it. Like you work and you lift and you push stuff, or it's all physical, very hard. The weights are usually much more than average, and you don't notice when you're doing all the daytime. But what happens when you go home and you try to sleep, and then you find out that everything aches? Your muscles, your joints, everything. There is nothing that doesn't ache. I think a lot of people that are still in the construction business, I don't know what drugs they take. I think it was meth, or I don't know what else they take. Usually you have to take some kind of painkiller, some kind of stuff that make you numb, and you can just work, but and not find out in the daytime or in the second day how much your body aches. And, well, if Amazon in their warehouses they're treating the employees like robots, and they have to continuously go from task to task without much break or in a rapid movement. Even like if you go from point A to point B, but you walking very fast, and then you don't have a break. You have to go from point B to C to D to E and hundreds of other places, like in a warehouse where you pick up the stuff from here and put it in a basket, go to the second one and the third one. Then your body. Well, I guess you have to be somebody that has worked in many different jobs, or in construction and in rapid step kind of work, one after the other. I don't know what they call it these days, sequential, or work that's very much you're required by the employer for certain amounts of productivity, and if you don't, you get fired. Well, that's not how human body or things work. Well, this kind of work is more suitable for robots, and humans they cannot perform like that, or they will be sick in some form or another. But what if work became like combined, some robotics, some humans, but they treated the humans a little better because we are not. Well, I was watching these videos of new robots that are out from Boston Dynamics, and you can accentuate and you make the robot move much faster and do a whole lot more, and have the human kind of program these robots, pick up stuff, do this. That would be work, but then there won't be as much work because the robots are doing all the stuff. But then we always have taxes, and we can make these giant corporations liable, pay huge taxes and one-time fees to the government, and that money would go to many payments like monthly basic income, or well, in the United States they always do things in a fucked up way, ass backward. Right now they're like printing all this money and giving it to anybody, but then they let in the Amazon and Walmart not pay any taxes. But it has to be the other way around. Like, you make these guys pay their taxes and then take the money that came from legitimate business and then use that money as basic income. Or make the Wall Street giants, they pay one-time payment fees, or investors pay out when they cash out of their bonds or stocks, and then take that money and make it into a basic income, not the other way around. Well, I heard that the Americans, they always do everything that's wrong first, and when they are a catastrophic failure, then they just go ahead and do the right thing. I think they did that in their military. They go in and ruin everything for everybody, and then they get kicked out, and then the poor guys who were there have to rebuild and do things the right way. I don't know. It's kind of sad sometimes. Uh, this topic is really interesting. Has a lot of consequences. I know we are not an atoms. We are not each one like by himself. He's like we are related economically, and there is a society every place. Like in Iran, there is society. There is taxes. You cannot break the law. You cannot lobby our senators, make them break the law for you, because we have other mechanisms that will even grab the senators and you and put you both in jail and maybe even kill some of you. So you'll have to do things the right way from the very beginning. And there is a huge span of time or history where our traditions, our taxes, our laws have been in effect. And you, no matter who you are, you have to follow or obey those laws. And if you don't do so, you are not special. And you can end up in jail or have your company or resources confiscated. It will be all legal. Yeah. Thank you very much for your patronage. Please leave comment and all that. Thanks.